just raise your hand and we'll come to you at a point in time. Thank you all for joining us here today. Very exciting news, as you probably have got, and it's also in your inbox. We've just announced the squad for the Subway Socceroos match against Argentina in Beijing, China next week. And here we are, we have the head coach, Graham Arnold, to reflect upon that announcement. So I might go to George first, if that's okay, to lead off with questions.
Arnie, good to see you. I guess the headline name in the squad, uncapped guy, Alessandro Ciccardi. Can you kind of talk us through how easy it was to get him over the line? He'd obviously played for Italy's youth teams, and what you're expecting from him in this window.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. It's been 12 months of communication with the kid. Obviously, he had two big decisions to make, whether it was Italy or Australia. But about 2 weeks ago, he rang me up and he said he's had a great time to think about this big decision for a young kid. And he said he wants to play for Australia. His heart has told him, and he believes that he wants to play for Australia, and his passion straight away to come in was great. Well, I said, okay, if I put you in this camp, are you ready? And he said 100%. And it's great to get him on board because, as you can see by the squad, it's a younger squad, but I'm also obviously looking at one eye's on the World Cup in 2026 and getting players ready for that. And I don't believe there's a better way to test them out than against the world champions. So having Alessandro in camp with us will be fantastic.
I guess just to follow up on that, what's it say? I guess it's kind of endorsement, do you feel, of the way the Socceroos are going, that over the last two camps you've got two guys who could have played for, I guess, nations that are traditionally viewed on a higher level to commit to Australia? Yeah,
look, I think it's, I do believe anyway, it's where we're going in terms of football in Australia. I think that it's getting, obviously, after the World Cup in Qatar, there's a lot of hype around football in Australia and kids. And when you look at today, and there'll be some selections there that you see that are not with me, but they're with the under-23s. I have this major importance on the Olyroos to qualify for Paris, because I know what a successful Olympic campaign can do. And when I say that, a successful Olympic campaign, in a lot of ways, it's just qualifying and getting that extra that extra pathway and longer pathway, but also the belief that it gives the players when they go on the big stage and they're playing against the so-called bigger names that they believe that they belong. And and Utilio, Younger and Qual, those boys that have gone across there. The reason Geordie Boston that stayed with me is obviously as his Beige is out with an injury, and also Geordie's heading off. He couldn't get across to Toulon in time, but also he's heading to Westerlo straight away, so he's got to get across to Belgium earlier. But obviously with the FIFA window, we have the power there to stop him from going straight away and using him.
Tom?
How did you decide which players you would rest, of the more established players, and which ones would come into this camp?
There's no rest.
Is it purely purely injury?
They're purely injured, a lot of them. And you've got to look at the program they've had over the last 12 months. A lot of them, there's been a World Cup and a heavy World Cup, straight back to clubland, in playing a lot of football. And I expected this would happen, that they needed a break, but all of them are legitimately injured, and they've got not badly injured. Craig Goodwin obviously needs an operation. Cameron Burgess was on the list as well at Ipswich, and he's had to have a hernia operation as well. So they're all got legitimate injuries. There's no one rested, because the one side of me is obviously developing Australian kids and giving them that chance. And as I said, I've got one eye on the 2026 World Cup. But when you pick your national team, you pick the best available, and this is the best squad available.
Any follow-up?
So that include people like Redmayne and Cummings, they're actually injured?
Yeah, Redmayne, well, that is one that, there is question marks on players, certain players, that if they'll make 2026, and Andrew Redmayne today's 35. So at the end of the day, it's that side of it. We know what Redders can do in cups and tournaments, and gives Tommy Glover and young Joe Gauci this opportunity. to come into camp because, as I said, I've got one eye on the World Cup in 2026 and who will be available. If something happens to Matty Ryan, who's next? And the only way I can find that out is in friendly matches, and I don't want to be doing that in World Cup qualifiers. I've got to do that in so-called friendly matches, and Tommy Glover has had a very good season, so has Gauchi, and I think watching the grand final the other night, if it wasn't for Tommy Glover, would have been 10-1 or 11-1. So, he's had a very good season, and he's definitely deserved his call-up.
Arnie, with Alex Robertson and Alessandro Ceccardi, that's 2 down with the dual international players. There's probably 2 to go, though, with Christian Volpato and Mohamed Toure, who's also spoken about maybe representing Guinea. Are you working on them? What's the status with those 2?
Yeah, look, like the others, Vince, it's conversations, and at the end of it, it's their decision. And they've, like with Alessandro, the communication I was having with him and over the time has always been regular, but again, it wasn't me enforcing this decision because it's such a massive decision. The heart will tell them what that decision is, and with Christian and Mohammed, it will be a conversation I'll get across to Europe in early August after we get obviously this game out the way. After this, part of my job now is also helping the junior national teams, and I'll go across with Brad Maloney to Thailand for the Under-17s World Cup qualifiers. But after that, then I'll get across and meet them face to face. And but I think really that what they saw at the World Cup has inspired them as well to make these decisions, and that's I think what happened with Alessandro. And I think they're all mates and they talk to each other as well. And maybe Robbo's helping there.
Just a quick one, Arnie, on Denny Jonro, who's back in the national team mix after a while. He's had some injuries, but he's got some consistent game time recently in the French top division. What can he add that's different to the other midfielders you've got?
Yeah, look, he's doing exceptionally well. And, it was a tough decision for me to leave him out of the World Cup, but it's important that you reconnect with the kid as soon as possible. And if there's one little bit of a payback for some of them they're left out of the World Cup is to play against Argentina and and the world's best. And Denny's been fantastic this year. He had an operation while we were at the World Cup, and he's come back very well. And again, he's thoroughly deserved his call-up.
Aaron Moy and Jackson Irvine were so important for you at the World Cup and in that game against Argentina, to experienced players in your midfield. Is there a concern about how you might go against the world champions in midfield without them? No,
not at all, Daniel. It's Aidan O'Neill has been doing exceptionally well. Cam Devlin's playing at a good level every week. Denny Jonru, as Vince asked, I actually think he's more of a 6 than an 8. So, we've got that position in Keanu Bacchus. So the most important thing for this with a short prep going into China and being able to do this is the players come in with really good energy. And conditions will be a little bit humid and warm, but with the younger players, they've got that energy in them that they'll run all day and fight. And it's going to be great to, I'm just so excited. I'm getting goosebumps now that we can, play the world champions so soon after a World Cup and get revenge.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is the goal? People on the outside will say, it's just to celebrate the round of 16 game and play Argentina. But what do you want to achieve from this game?
I want to do better than what we did against Ecuador, and I thought that, 3 halves out of the 4 against Ecuador were very good. And again, it's about bringing these kids into the environment and giving them this opportunity, because unless you give those opportunities in life, you never know what will happen. And I've never been one to just sit back and go with the old or go with the same ones again. It's about, again, improving the team, the depth of the team. And as I said, we've got the World Cup qualifiers start in November. It's not like they're a year away. So we've got to get onto this as quick as we can, create the depth, and we have the depth, and move forward.
Right, we'll head online. We'll first go to Marco Monteverde and then to Joey Lynch. Marco?
G'day, Marco.
How you going?
Good, you?
Good, mate. Just on, what's the Jason Cummings injury?
Mate, he's the last couple of weeks with a little bit of a knee. When I spoke to him yesterday, he needs to get it checked out. So we've got to look at also the fact that when we when those players are at the grand final, players that they had to get across and into the Chinese embassies over yesterday or today to get the visas to get across. I didn't want to disrupt them before the grand final. Left it till after, so those boys are all getting the visas today to get to be able to fly out by Friday. And Jace felt that he wouldn't be able to recover in time for the game, but obviously his grit and determination was there to want to play in the GF, and what a great job he did. So he's got a little bit of a knee injury that he needs to get sorted out as quick as he can.
Follow up, Marco?
Yeah, just on Harry's foot, have you spoken to him since the relegation, and sort of how's he been, after his big move there, and then he wasn't playing much towards the end? How's his, confidence?
Mate, he's fine. That's the way Harry is. He's looking always, on the positive side of things. It's obviously I expected him to pretty much taper off towards the end of the season. It's the guy'd been out for a year with an ACL, and he played one game before he went to the World Cup, and then went to the World Cup and did what he did for us, and then straight back to clubland and playing, and it's a hard slog, so he'll be much better for it next season.
All right, heading south to Joey Lynch.
Cool, thanks, Beck. Hi, Arnie. Going well. Wanted to ask, obviously very exciting to be playing the reigning world champions, but 23 players in the squad, not all of them are going to be able to actually play in that game, and with just one game in the window, what are some of these guys that aren't going to be able to actually play going to be able to do to impress you in camp so they can get future call-ups in this audition?
Exactly, and obviously we can make 6 subs during that game, so that's half of the ones who are not starting, but it's about impressing at training and also the mentality when you come into camp, that obviously always you can't play players every game. That's the hardest thing when players fly from the other side of the world across. But it's about being connected with the culture. It's about the passion for the shirt, and making sure that no matter what happens, they're ready, because I can't predict those 6 players who'll come on during the game or be before the game. They have to wait and see during the game if that occurs. But, mate, every time you put on that Australian tracksuit top or badge on your heart, that you have to be ready.
Have you got a follow-up, Joey?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about Joan Kadicic. He wasn't part of the Ecuador series. He's not also been called up for this one. What's his status with the team? What does he need to do to get back into it?
Joey, he's the same as the others. Long season, heavy season. He's had hamstring issues. And with a short turnaround with getting a visa, then getting into China, it'd be probably like a normal FIFA window, 1 or 2 days prep. And he's probably not ready for it.
We'll go to George, then we'll go to James.
Arnie, we just heard you speaking about Jason. He's heading to India after this season with the Mariners. Is he putting his spot at risk there, kind of being out of mind in a way?
No. Long as he's playing football, and obviously the way the technology is these days, I can watch every game he plays. Again, when you look at the squad, and the hardest thing for me in a lot of ways was keeping Brandon Borrello training and fit over the last couple of weeks. And Joel King obviously has just come in late because of Aziz Baja's injury. But this time I've really been able to pick from 2 teams out of 12. And I know I keep banging on about it, but you'd hope that the APL would start looking at this. This is not a one-off situation where the rest of the A-League players can't be selected, and then this is going to happen in September as well because of lack of games and not being match fit. And in a lot of ways, because of that, it's taking away opportunities for players to play for their country and their nation. And you really would hope that the APL would start looking at that, because, as I said, I really only could pick from 2 teams this time, and that won't change next year in June for World Cup qualifiers. It won't change in September. I had the same issue last year. So, we need to get in line with each other, and obviously the APL, I believe in it strongly, and I believe that the players are doing fantastic jobs, and the kids are coming through. But it'd be handy if they get in line with the the international program for the players to be top fit and ready for these type of games.
Just can you kind of map out what you'd like to see as national team coach for that?
Get in line with Europe or get in line with Asia. Simple.
Okay.
On that one, we'll go to James.
Arnie, you were obviously at the grand final over the weekend. How far off were Josh Nisbet and Nectarios Triantis, given the seasons they've had respectively?
Yeah, look, with young Triantis, he's doing fantastic. And again, Tony Vidmar, I think, probably needed him more than me, if I'd be honest. Like, I could have brought him in, Triantis, and then he sits and watches, probably behind Harry and Kai. But, you know, Tony Vidmar's got, in September, has got Olympic qualifiers, and he needs to learn his players as well. And this Toulon tournament that's going on at the moment, and no doubt you guys have seen, you know, the selection of the 23. It's a very strong squad. But you know, those type of players are always on the radar. And Sam Silvera as well. He did exceptionally well in the grand final, but that was probably down to me, that one, with if I can say that I had to give a list of 35 to 40 players 2 weeks ago for the visas. And he played a fantastic game in the grand final, but I didn't have him on the list for the visas.
Arnie, just with looking at the squad, I mean, Geordie Boss is a strong chance of perhaps getting a start in the absence of Aziz. How excited are you, just given the trajectory that he's on, that this will be the best opposition that he's ever faced in his career, just to see how he handles this occasion? Just as long as he doesn't look over his right shoulder and see Lionel Messi just hanging around there, that it affects him. No, but it won't. I'm just like, as I said, it's a fantastic opportunity for all of us. And, you know, as I said, you know, the fact that we're playing against the world champions straight after a World Cup is a one-off. I don't think it's ever happened before for the Socceroos. And Argentina had a big role to play in that, to play against us. And when I met Scaloni at the World Cup Coaches Review, and how impressed he was with us, and it was pretty much their choice. And because we hadn't lined up a game in June at that stage, that they helped choose us. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us to go out there and, as I said, give it everything we've got. And these young boys will bring energy galore, and I can't wait. Just with Aaron Moy, what's he battling with at the moment? Back. He's had that probably nearly since the World Cup. He battled through it quite a bit, and then it's just got to the stage where it was too much.
Daniel Galb?
Any thoughts on how to maybe stop Lionel Messi this time around?
In the tunnel, on the way out.
Have you looked at that goal at all and thought, geez, we could do something differently, or that there's not much you can do?
No, when you look at the goal, as I said, it was it's so clear in my mind still that, you know, we gave away a silly free kick, and then it was the second phase of defending the free kick that it came out to him. And if you look back closely at it, it was a good play and chase, but I don't think the layoff was meant, and he turned that the layoff into a goal. But that's the quality of that person. He's incredible, and it's an honour again to play against him.
Okay. Can I ask about a different subject? Is that okay?
Tom just wants to keep asking about Socceroos, and then any more further questions on the line as well about Socceroos, and then once we finish Socceroos, we'll go to another person to talk questions about.
Before the Japan and Saudi games in March last year, there was a lot of pressure on the team. The players were talking about these good teams they were playing against, and then a year later in the camp in March, the players were talking about how they felt like they'd come forward, they belonged now on the world stage. It was more about them than who they were playing against. Do you anticipate seeing that in the way the team plays over the coming months, over the World Cup cycle, more of on the front foot, like we want to play like we want to play?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, as much as I don't want to remember those times before, you know, Japan and Saudi, that with obviously with the players out, COVID and all that stuff, it was, you know, the players, they've got this belief. And at the end of the day, it was, you know, when you put them on the big stage, and as I said, when you put them on the field against Argentina, that's where they believe they belong. And that builds confidence. And they then realise that they do belong. So it's important that we play this type of opposition to give them those experiences. We could have Like, we could have played a smaller nation in Asia. We could have done that. But what am I going to learn out of that, really, from a younger player? You know, or you're bringing new players in. It's, you know, that can hide deficiencies, if that's the right word, you know, and you're not going to learn any lessons from it. But playing against this type of opposition, exactly like France, I truly believe it and said it, was, you know, against France, we got punished by little mistakes turned into big mistakes, and that's what you want, and especially when you're not getting punished for getting knocked out of World Cup qualifiers or anything. This is a time to learn, and the young boys, these younger boys will do that, and we've got some good leaders still in that, and that was important. It's not just about the younger players. Like, I think there's 13 players that I had from the Olympic squad from Tokyo in this, but when I say leaders, we've still got Matty Ryan in there, a good leader, Matthew Leckie, Mitchell Duke, Jamie Mack, and Harry Sutter, who's fantastic leaders, so everyone will be fine.
All right, Joey Lynch, crossing back down to you.
Maybe just sort of a two-parter, Arnie, about some Viking boys. Johnny Stenson has obviously come in back into the squad, playing well in Norway, but his teammate Nick D'Agostino, who's been playing well, not in the squad. Could you maybe just walk us through that one selection and another non-selection?
No, obviously because they're still playing the whole way through, so late arrivals, but obviously with Gianni it's a little bit different because of the centre-back situation where I had more options up front. Nicky only played, he came off the bench the other day for 12, 13 minutes, and he's just settling in there in Norway. So I think, you know, to leave him there and to get him through this first period of his first time overseas is important, that he settles in well and he keeps doing well and starting and playing a lot of match minutes. Young Yezbak is was the same with the boys from Toulon. Because it was a FIFA window only, that he couldn't go to Toulon with the under-23s. So it's great to see the kids over there and doing well, and obviously they're being monitored.
Last question, Joey.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Any more further questions on Socceroos? Okay. As I said before, Arnie's happy to take a few questions about his former colleague. And Vince, over to you.
Obviously, a huge story developing in Australian football with Ange potentially going to Tottenham Hotspur. You had some great battles with him in the A-League over the years.
I didn't win many.
I mean, did you think back then that his football was capable of reaching the heights it is now? And also, how do you think he's going to go in this job if he takes it?
Mentally, probably years ago, and I worked as his assistant in 2002, I think it was, with the Under-20 World Cup in Dubai. And just from working with him there, I could see the obsession. I think that's the right word, obsession of football. That he's just totally obsessed with the game, and it's his life. And always knew that he had that mentality of where he wanted to go, and that was to the top. You know, you obviously have a few setbacks, but that's what makes coaching. That's coaching. It's you know, you learn from those type of not mistakes, but those type of setbacks. And Ange has always been someone that is always so determined to prove the doubters wrong. And I think that's in a lot of mates, but we were competitors against each other. And but to see him doing what he's doing is just brilliant. And not only for himself, but he's. I think one of the greatest photos he'll ever see is with his wife Georgia and the kids after the FA Cup final on the pitch with a trophy, and those type of moments and memories are ones that will stick with him and his family forever. But you know, going to Tottenham, I think it's a great job for him, and I think he'll kill it.
Just to follow up on that, I mean, there's him, there's Kevin Muscat recently from Lionel Scaloni. I mean, what does all this say about...
It might not be that bad, eh?
Yeah. I think you're going all right. What does all this say about not only the quality of Australian coaches, but maybe the perception of Australian coaches in Australia versus overseas? Because it seems like overseas is waking up to the fact that we've got some good managers here.
Well, I think that one of the hardest things to do, and I spoke to when we played Chelsea with Sydney FC, and Jose Mourinho came out at Chelsea, and he asked how the salary cap worked, and I said to him, and at the time, he said, "How much is it?" And I think it was about 2.1 million, and he was like, "Oh, how can you coach with that?" and his attention to detail with the recruitment and the players that he gets defined for his way, the way, the system and the way he wants it played. And we've got a hard way of for coaching here in Australia. There's only basically 12 jobs that are in professional, plus obviously the national team. So it's a hard gig, and a lot of times, I spend most of my back end of my playing career overseas, and a lot of my mindset is I want to help Australian kids. But with a lot of the younger coaches, and I'm bringing Wolfie Talle into this camp to give him an opportunity to experience. He's not staying. He's got to go coach, And we've got some great young coaches in the A-League, and as you said, Vince, overseas, and Kevin Muscat's doing fantastic, and these guys will end up overseas. And Ange is the leader of that pathway. It was like all those years ago in playing with Craig Johnson, the first real Australian to go overseas, and he led the pathways for himself and Krencevic, Mitchell, Slater and Farina. And you need someone to open the eyes of people around the world to say, oh, geez, so the Australian coaches might not be so bad. And Ange is doing that and has done that fantastically well for all of us.
We'll go to Tom, and then we'll finish with Daniel.
That's all right.
That's all right. So just on that then, can you sort of detail, a lot about obviously the big bad world of coaching, how incredible achievement it is from Ange to go from somebody who doesn't have a playing career in Europe, so doesn't have the brand over there, to go from where he was to where he will be probably tonight our time. How incredible an achievement is that to do?
Yeah, it's his obsession, Daniel. As I said, he would sit and watch football all day. I'm not like that. I can't watch it all day, but he's obsessed with his career in a lot of ways, his family and his job. And the time I just saying when I went to Celtic and for the day or two, and he was just full on all day. And I think one of the specialties with Ange is a lot of the managers are managers. They're not coaches as well. And I think that's what Ange has the dual role of being a coach as well as a manager that nous. And then on the managerial side of it, he knows man management. He knows how to get the best out of people and motivate people, where sometimes a lot of managers leave the coaching to someone else to do, and they're playing that way of that other coach. Where with Ange, I said it's his way. And look at it. Play with Brisbane. Look at the way he played earlier on. I think he finished his career early with a knee injury, and he had the luxury at that time, young, working with Frank Arrock and Puskas. So he's learnt from two very experienced European coaches straight away. But I say this in a way also with the playing side of it, and I say that the A-League is got the quality. I have to watch a lot of the other leagues and our players playing other leagues, and it's not much of a difference to standard. And because we're coaching in, as I said, with a salary cap system, we've got to do a lot more work and a lot harder work and focus on the tactical side and all that stuff more than ever. But, Ange has always been extremely motivated to do it his way, and that's worked. It's working well.
Right, I think that's a great way to end it. Thank you for coming today. Wish Arnie and the boys all the best next Thursday.
Can't wait to get back on the field. Thanks, Arnie. No worries. Thank you.